What can the Seattle Seahawks get out of the linebacker position in 2025? All right, everybody, welcome back. Good morning. Happy Friday. We got another position to take a look at for the prediction series. Not too many left, but we got to get through these. We got plenty to talk about still, plenty of interesting stuff to get into here. And today is going to be all about the off-ball linebackers. So to be clear, we already did the edge rushers. I know that they are technically linebackers too, but today is about the off-ball linebackers, or you can call them inside linebackers, whatever. Either way, they're going to be the focus. And they're so different from edge rushers in how they play and what they need to do that I don't think it makes any sense to lump them together. All right. We've got only a few players to look at here, to be perfectly honest. And if things stay reasonably together in terms of health, there really might only be two players here that matter that much. And to be real, the Seahawks kind of need health to not become an issue here because this is a position where they have no depth. And I will say this, inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker, not one of the more important positions in football, but the drop-off is so big. I imagine we will feel any games or even snaps missed by either of our starters. So it's a big deal. We need these guys to play. We need these guys to stay upright. Unless McDonald is cooking something up with a Josh Ross type of guy, because we know he likes him, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's ready to play now. The good news is you've got Ernest Jones, who got extended in the offseason to a really nice contract, very reasonable, less than I was expecting him to get. And you've got Tyrese Knight coming off a nice rookie year where he was effective. And there's every reason to believe he's going to make strides in 2025. I don't think either of these players are going to be the best in the league at their position, but we've seen Ernest Jones be an effective, useful player, and we've seen Tyrese Knight show that he can be a plus player. And they're both relatively young, especially Knight. Knight is at an age where it would be very weird if he didn't improve at least some as a sophomore. Please like this video if you haven't already. Click the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new. Click the bell for notifications. Become a channel member for $2 a month. Those are the best ways to support the channel. Let's get into it here. We're going to start with the star of the show, Ernest Jones. At least he is the primary linebacker on this team. I know some people don't even think he's our best one, but he is certainly the leader, right? He is probably going to be the guy with the green dot. I guess he doesn't have to be, but I imagine that he's going to be a green dot guy. So what's he going to do? What do we got with him? Tackles, let's start here. And one thing I should say before we get too deep into this, the off-ball linebacker position is not entirely defined by straight-up stats. And I do think that there's going to be stuff going on beyond these numbers that define whether or not these players are doing their job. But again, it's a good starting point. I just want to make that very clear here. So 125 tackles, not a huge amount, but that's a good thing. Generally speaking, players that accrue massive tackle numbers, 160, 170, 180 in a season, those are the players that are on either bad teams or at least teams with bad offenses that force them to play too much. I do think that the tackle number will be fairly significant because I don't think our offense is going to be great. But I do think our defense is going to be great, and I think the team is going to be good enough, and they're going to play a ball control style of offense, hopefully, to where the tackle number does not get out of hand here. 125, there are going to be one or two games where he probably just goes off and has like 16 or 17 tackles, so that's good. I think that would be a pretty winning formula. Not feeling a ton of stuff going on in the backfield for him this year. I went with 8 tackles for loss. I think there will be some of that. I don't think his game is overly well suited for a lot of gap shooting and getting into the backfield really quick and finding his way to the ball carrier really fast. Not going to go too crazy with cute quarterback pressure stuff. 2 sacks, At some point during the season, he's going to find his way to 2 sacks. It's not going to be as big a part of his game as it was at times in LA. 7 pressures, though, is what I landed on. 7 pressures, pretty good. I feel like there's going to be so much effective pressure coming from the edge and the defensive line and some of these secondary blitzes that the inside linebackers are not necessarily going to be leaned on to do that much in those areas. So I'm going to be a little conservative there. I'm going to be a little bit tight. I know that he's done better than that in previous years. Passing yards allowed, coverage is a little bit of a weakness for Ernest Jones. Last year, it didn't really kill us. I do suspect that now with a full season, he will probably get targeted a little bit more simply because it's not, as an opposing team, you don't want to be targeting guys like Witherspoon and Woolen unless you have to. I imagine that a guy like Ernest Jones will get picked on a little bit. I don't think he's going to get destroyed the way that we have seen some Seahawks linebackers get destroyed, but he'll give up stuff. Landed on a quarterback rating of 99.7. I think this is just something we're going to have to live with. I think we're just going to have to be okay with him not being really a very good cover player. All right, Tyrese Knight, our other starting linebacker, 102 tackles. Again, I just don't see the number getting out of control. I think the team will be good enough to not put a billion tackle opportunities on the field for him. I do think he gets to 100 because I think he plays the whole season. It's going to be close. I'm hoping these numbers are a little bit lower, honestly, because it means that the team is playing at a higher level, and it means the offense is probably keeping the defense off the field consistently, but I think it's going to be more of an okay effort rather than elite. I feel like 102 is a pretty safe marker to hit. And also, it's worth noting that if Ernest Jones does miss some time, which very possible, he's been battling injuries for a lot of his career, Knight may have a game or two where he blows up and gets like 13, 14 tackles because he's the guy now. But I'll go with 102. 6 tackles for loss. Again, I don't think gap shooting is going to be a huge part of what we ask of these linebackers to do. I think it'll be more keeping stuff in front of you and just keeping big plays off the board. And I have a feeling, and I may end up regretting this, I have a feeling that we're going to do a pretty good job not allowing teams to just run like they have in previous years on us. And that will reduce tackle for loss opportunities because there's not going to be as much running against this defense. I think this defense is going to force opposing teams into passing situations a lot. 1 sack. Again, I don't think these inside linebackers are going to be utilized in this area that much. Went with 5 pressures to go with it. It's okay. I'm not looking for big stuff here. I just want them to focus on stopping the run and not being complete liabilities in coverage. Pass yards allowed, 361. I think Knight's going to be okay in coverage. I didn't see anything last year that I thought was egregious. I don't think anything's going to be egregious this year either with him. I think he's going to be fine in coverage. He will give up some stuff, mostly because somebody has to get targeted here, and he's a pretty good candidate for it compared to the other cover players we have. I don't think it'll be as bad as Ernest Jones, though, where it's a little bit more of a liability. In fact, I even went with a quarterback rating allowed of 89.6, which would be pretty good. That probably means he got some kind of an interception. That probably means he's not allowing a lot of yards per target. That would be something that I'm happy to live with from our second starting linebacker. And that's most of the stuff to look at. Way I see it right now, our other 2 linebackers on the team are going to be Drake Thomas. I'm not going to expect much from either of them, mostly because if they get on the field, it's probably going to be bad. 7 tackles, 0 for loss, 0 sacks, 0 pressures, 18 yards allowed. None of this really means much, right? It's just stuff that probably happens in garbage time. Maybe it happens because somebody gets dinged up. If these guys have to play a big role on the team this season, that's probably not good. QB rating allowed 115.4, but I think he'll get targeted like once or twice the whole season, hopefully in garbage time. And Josh Ross, 2 tackles. Now, I want to be clear, these guys are probably going to do a little bit more on special teams, but this is just looking at the defense. Defensively, I don't think Josh Ross plays. I'm hoping he doesn't because, again, even if McDonald likes him, that doesn't mean he's ready. And that gets us to our final totals of 236 tackles, 14 for loss, 3 sacks, 12 pressures, 815 yards allowed. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. This is not the strength of our team, but I think the top is actually quite good. I like Ernest Jones and Tyrese Knight. The issue here is depth. We don't really have any. And if somebody at the top gets hurt, that's a big problem. I will say that. But unlike some other websites I know, like Pro Football Focus doesn't like our linebackers very much, and I get why. I like our starters. I think this is going to be a good set. I think this is going to be a good duo, Jones and Knight. I think they're both going to get it done. I don't think they're going to do anything crazy over the top, but you don't necessarily want your off-ball linebackers to do anything over the top. If they are, that probably means the other players aren't doing their job. That probably means that the offense isn't doing their job. You just want these guys to churn out efficient play, not necessarily big volume play. All right, we've got 2 more positions to look at. We're going to look at some other stuff as well before this is over, but we are getting close to the start of training camp. I know rookies report in a few days. That's not really going to be all that intriguing, I don't think, but it's worth noting that we're going to get rookies reporting in like 4 days. We'll see if anything comes of that. Veterans report a week later, and then we're going to start getting into some stuff. We're going to wrap this series up before then. But let me know what you guys think, if there's anything to think. I understand this is not the sexy part of the team, but I'm excited for this. I'm intrigued by this. We got 2 guys that are young. One guy is on the rookie deal, very cheap, and there's reason to be optimistic. Knight is ahead of schedule. That doesn't mean he's going to become an all-pro, but it does mean he built good experience last year and can become a better player this year. Go Hawks.